Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? Please let us know if you are able to hear us in the chat section. Please confirm that. Please let us know if you are able to hear us in the chat section. Please
We
confirm
can
that.
surely, they can surely hear you, Akshay.
Awesome. Uh, so thank you all for joining in. So we have the next session up here. We have Kevin, Colin, and Anthony from the Art Company. Thank you guys for joining in. Uh, so it's a pleasure to have you guys here up. And then over to you guys for the next 45-minute session. Over to you, Anthony.
All right. Thanks, Akshay and Vedant and everyone at the Full Stack Square team for having us. We are thrilled to be, the title sponsor for the event these 3 days. And it's been a lot of fun already working with your community the last week and a half. So thanks so much for all your support for everything we've been doing with you guys. So my name is Anthony. As Akshay said, I'm part of the At Company, and my role here is to do developer relations, working with many of you developers out there as part of this session and community. And the India community especially has been super open and welcoming to us over the last 12 to 18 months. And we look forward to meeting many more of you through this session and help you learn more about the app platform and what we're up to. Before we do that, though, you need to learn a little bit about a couple of our co-founders here, Kevin and Colin. Kevin, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Excuse me. I'm Kevin. One of the three co-founders of the company is Colin, myself, and Barbara, who's our CEO. I've been in the industry for a long time, focused on software development and the kind of a startup junkie. So I've done a whole bunch of startups over the years and love doing startups. And we're having an absolute blast doing this one. This is best ever for sure.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Colin.
Hey everyone, I'm really excited to be here. This is actually my first startup as a founder. I worked at a couple of startups with Kevin, but I'm really a large enterprise and large infrastructure guy up until I met Kevin. He made me realize why I was causing so much trouble in large companies is because I was a startup guy, and I only just realized it. So I tend to concentrate on the large systems, system admins, and all that good stuff. I absolutely love programming, and over the last 3 years, I've been learning Dart mainly, and in the last 6 months or so, I guess, getting to grips with Flutter and having a blast with that as well. So, thanks, Anthony.
All right. Thanks, Colin. So why are we here today? Just as a refresher, as the At Company, you would have seen us all over the Full Stack Square website. Our website is atsign.com. We are here to talk to you guys about how can you build fully end-to-end encrypted apps without worrying about backend and infrastructure. I know the title is quite a mouthful, but we'll make it super simple for you to try to help you understand what the At Company is about. As a developer, what does this mean for you? And how can you use the app platform to build applications super quickly, super easily, and all of that end-to-end encrypted and take it live pretty easily. So what we can do is, I think it'll be great for all of you to understand the origin or how the company itself was formed or how the idea itself came together. And it's a great story. I've heard this story many times, and the background of it. I think it'll be great for you guys to first hear it from Kevin and Colin, and then we'll jump into what the app platform is all about. So, Colin or Kevin, I mean, why don't you tell us the story of how the company came together?
Hey, Colin, you got to kick it off.
It's my turn this time. All right. So there's a long history between Kevin and myself. We worked together and sort of came across each other actually at a hackathon. So we're just hackathon junkies as well. We met at a hackathon. It wasn't even called a hackathon back then. It was called a hot house. But it was between the bank where I was and actually Kevin was working for a telco. And we became firm friends straight after that because you get to know people really, really well now in a hackathon. And so we've always sort of been in each other's pockets, but we had the chance to work together in Silicon Valley. And Silicon Valley runs on coffee. Just if you didn't know, Silicon Valley just runs on coffee. And this was a coffee moment between Kevin and myself. We were sitting down, having a cup of coffee, shooting the breeze, and really complaining about the way the internet was run and how people are treated on the internet and how identities just screwed up. And one of us, we can't remember who, one of us said, well, if it's really complicated, what's the simplest thing you can do? So what's the simplest way you can assert an identity on the internet? And the answer is, Kevin, what's the answer?
It's just a unique string.
That's it.
As simple as that. Yeah.
So many people have tried to do what we're doing by making it really complicated. We've worked, I think, incredibly hard to make it incredibly simple. So if you have a unique string, we didn't know what to call it back then. This is like 7, 8 years ago now. We didn't know what to call it, but it's now called an @sign. So my @sign is @Colin, Kevin is @Kevin. And it's down to me as to what information I put behind @Colin and who can see it. And that's essentially what the app platform provides, is a way of me giving access to my data to anybody else on the planet who's got an @sign. But I'm going to complete control. I can hold on to it and take it away or do anything else. So yeah, be careful what you do with a cup of coffee in Silicon Valley in particular. So that was 8 years ago. We did try and do some stuff back then. We tried to mix some open source code, actually blockchain and DNS. And we found out pretty quickly that it was never going to work. It was never going to scale. There's some fundamental problems. So we put it to one side. And then 3 years ago now, must be about 3 years ago now, we had another cup of coffee. I was being driven mad at the company I was at. Kevin was the end of his contract. And we said we should give it another hit. And the stars must have all aligned because everything we looked for just all worked. All sort of, when it constantly falls into place all the time. We're calling it magic. And it's been quite a ride. So that's the origin story, Anthony.
Awesome. Thanks, Colin. So with that background, I think we can jump into today's session and learn a little bit about the ad platform. Kevin?
Sure. So if you think about the way that data flows today, or where data is manifest today. So data about you is all over the place. I mean, it's fragmented and spread at hundreds, maybe thousands of websites. Some you know about, others you don't know about, but typically you'll have to go to a whole number of sites and then fill out some forms to tell them your name, address, phone number, email, and whatever else they want to have, your mailing address. I mean, but basically you've got hundreds of copies of your data that you have to fill out on all these different websites. And if any of that stuff changes, you have to go back to those hundreds of websites and update that information so they have the most up-to-date information, which is awful and silly. And so, and it also means that the firms that you're talking to, I mean, I just moved house and I'm still finding information that I need to update because I didn't remember everything that I need to update. So it means that all these enterprises or all these businesses have out of date and inaccurate information, and that's chronic in the industry. So they're doing all kinds of tricks to try to keep that data up to date, but it's a losing proposition because there is no golden record the way that things are built here. So everything is spread all over the place. They all think they have a golden record, but they don't. So it's kind of a silly architecture, and we thought we should change that. So you want to pick this one, Colin?
No, go ahead. You're doing great.
All right, so we tend to do everything backwards to everybody else. So this is an example of how we're flipping the internet, and what that means is that we want, instead of all these businesses to have or control of your data, and in fact they feel that they own your data, which is wrong because they don't. That we wanted to flip that to make it so that it's really easy for you to own your own data, and you choose how you share that with all these different platforms or destinations out there. But because it's your data, if you change it once, it can be immediately reflected hundreds of thousands of times in all these other different places. So it really solves a really fundamental problem in terms of data and quality, plus privacy. Because if you're able to create your data, manage your data, and control it, then that becomes the golden record, and you owning your own golden record. And so the apps become very different. These are we'll show here. They're more peer-to-peer apps, but basically, if you have ability to control the data, so and the experience you have is similar to what you were doing before, but maybe better. So fewer forms to fill out, and better user experience. Then you don't have. It's no burden to be able to manage your data. It's natural, but the real efficiency comes from doing it once instead of hundreds of times.
All right. So how do we basically do that, or how does that work? Maybe Colin, you want to jump in here?
Sure. So when we started building this, as I said, we got 2 open source bits of projects, and we welded them together and found it didn't work. And 3 years ago, when we had another run of it, we figured we need to start with a blank sheet of paper, and that's pretty scary actually, because normally when you start a project, you normally start with some open source code somewhere, and we decided that was not the way we were going to do it. We were actually going to start with absolutely zero code. And so what we decided to do is actually write a brand new from scratch protocol that deals with the idea of identity and people having their own unique string. And that became known as the app protocol. So we have an underlying brand new internet protocol, all written in Dart. And essentially what that allows people to have is their own unique @sign. And you can register your own unique @sign, or you can get a free @sign. I'm sure many of you already have. And then you can build applications that use that protocol via an SDK we built. And essentially the way that works is, as you get your @sign and you put it onto your phone, generally with sort of mobile first, your phone actually cuts cryptographic keys, so data can be kept safe. And then you decide which data you want to share with, not share, which data you want to give other people access to. And you encrypt that data with their public keys. And so when you allow them access, they can come pick up information from what we call a microserver, which can be hosted anywhere. We actually host them for free for people. But if you want to run your own microserver, if you're into Docker and Linux, you can actually run your own microservice. Happy to show people how to do that, and you can run it pretty much anywhere. I've got some running right in front of me on Raspberry Pis. I've got them running on big computer servers. So what that means is everything is fully distributed. We don't have to manage any of the infrastructure unless somebody wants us to. And as you probably figured out, everything that we do is open source, literally everything. So the only thing that centralizes is essentially the directory, so people can look up where is @Bob and where is @Alice's microserver on the internet. Everything else is fully distributed. So this is a huge fundamental change in architecture, because up until we did this, everybody was really just building very big servers. and centralizing everything. So, Google run big data centers and everything centralized. Facebook, all the normal players centralize everything, and what we're trying to do is distribute everything and make sure that everybody owns their own data and owns their own keys to that data.
Okay, so you're a developer. I mean, that all sounds great. And I have to say so Colin's a network guy. I'm more of a software guy, but Colin has taught me the beauty of protocols, because I never really thought that much about them before. But I've always been a big API advocate, and so we started doing this, and it's actually a protocol, and that's really important. And so we have an API, and the API basically says I'm going to store some data on my phone, and that's it. I'm literally just storing data on my phone. So you could create a key. In this case, it's 005, and I must create a message and save that for Alice. It says hello, how are you, Alice? And basically all I need to do is use our SDK. So there's an @client SDK. And I just do a put, and I put with the key above and the value stringified. And that could be JSON, or it could be all kinds of different things. But as long as it ends up being a key, a name value pair a name value pair in the persistence layer, and you save it, and then so what happens is the protocol will then pick it up. It will store the information on your phone, encrypt it for the recipient, so that they're the only person in the universe that can decrypt it, and then notify and deliver that piece of information to Alice. So all you have to do on your phone is say, I'm going to create a data object, a name value pair, and there's a parameter here called shared with, which is who do I want it to be shared with. And that's all you have to do. There's no servers, there's nothing to set up, literally nothing that you have to do beyond that in order to provide. And here's the kicker: this is end-to-end encrypted. Truly end-to-end encrypted. So from Bob's phone to Alice's phone, and so nobody can surveil it, nobody can intercept it, nobody can read it except for Bob, who sent it, and Alice, who's receiving it. So it couldn't be easier way to do. It's all you have to do to literally do end-to-end encryption for whatever you want to do encryption for, and which should be honestly just about everything. You want to do this one, Anthony?
Sure.
Yeah.
So as our title suggests, we are all about the developer community. We've open source all of this. You'll see very soon where we have our code base where you can utilize all these libraries and widgets and all that very soon. But what does it really mean for you, or how does this change things for you? As the title suggests here, we want to make this super simple for you guys, right? So do less, but get more out of it. And as Kevin and Colin already mentioned, we've tried to abstract a lot of these things for you already as part of the SDK or as part of the protocol. So there's a lot of things you don't have to worry about as a developer. You don't have to worry about hosting. I don't have to worry about building a database, anything related to key management or user management, as you can see. And then from a user perspective, or we call them people, they don't have to worry about any passwords anymore, right? It just really simplifies things both for you to manage all of that through your applications. At the same time, it is super simple for making that experience from a people perspective so much better, like Kevin mentioned earlier. So for all of that, we have pre-built libraries, and we're continuing to make them better, right? So these are some examples of what is already available in terms of whether it's chat related or doing a location sort of thing or notifications in your app. So those are all pre-built libraries that you can just add on to your application, start using it readily. And then from from your perspective, or again a user standpoint, I mean, it's super fast to go live to the App Store, right? So because you don't have to worry about a lot of these steps, it cuts down the overall development life cycle for you. So you can go live faster. And as you heard from the whole end-to-end encryption story, I mean, it is automatic privacy compliance, right? So you would have heard of the whole GDPR, or from a California perspective, the CCPA. India has its own rules related to the internet and digital privacy and all of that. So what this protocol and platform do is they automatically take care of checking those boxes for you. So if you build on this platform, it automatically complies to a lot of those laws and regulations out there. And then, I mean, who doesn't want to save money, right? I mean, it saves a lot of money for you as a developer on infrastructure costs because, again, the platform takes care of it for you, right? And then given the way the platform is designed, it also gives you a lot more creativity in terms of how you want to design and build your app because it is peer-to-peer. And we'll probably talk about personas and polymorphism and all that if time permits, but it'll totally brings a new dimension of how you can think about apps and how you can manage data and how you can change that experience for the better from whoever is using those apps that you built because of the new way of doing things. Anything I missed, Kevin, Colin, in terms of what this means for the devs?
Probably just a mention of Flutter. So we built everything in Dart and Flutter, and one of the coolest things about Flutter as a UI framework is the widgets. And so we have all these widget libraries that you can just easily integrate and just use. So if you wanted to build an end-to-end encrypted chat application, you could do it in about 5 minutes. If you wanted to do location sharing that's completely secure, you could do that again in no time at all. But that's just beginning. So if you want to say explore how you'd want to use it and use your imagination, say, well, assuming that everything is private, what kind of experience could I deliver to my customers that doesn't exist today? It's new and it's predicated on the idea that your data is completely safe, so you can share whatever you want. And so that just opens up all kinds of possibilities, I think.
Perfect. I think that's a perfect segue into our next slide, which is to talk about Flutter and Dart. So those of you attending this session, I mean, give us a shout or put anything on the chat. If you're already a Flutter developer out there, we'd love to say hello to all the Flutter devs. If you're not a Flutter dev or working on Dart, I mean, you should check it out. Like Kevin said, I mean, it's a super powerful platform that's just on fire right now. I mean, a lot of devs are starting to use it, and we are fortunate, or Kevin or Colin would say, we're super lucky that we picked Dart and Flutter as technologies to build our technology. So before you get started on the app platform, it's important at least the basics of Dart and Flutter, which is super important. Secondly, as you can see on this slide, I mean, I've just called out a few of the resources. We're going to go through to a demo next, but for those of you who want to bookmark any of these links, @sign.dev is our developer site, and all the packages that we have built so far, some of those elements I spoke about on the previous one, whether it's notification or chat or onboarding, any of those things, I mean, all those packages, Flutter packages, are available on pub.dev for you. And then just like your community, we have close to a 2,000 member strong community on Discord. So if you want any help, I mean, always give us a shout. We have teams around the world always there to support you. So any help you need, do join our Discord server, and we'd be there to help you. And with that, I think it is demo time.
Yay.
Colin.
Yeah, so maybe we can flip over to my screen. Got it up and running. And we'll run through a few demos. As I mentioned in the beginning, I actually am more of an infrastructure and Dart person. I'm much happier with the command line and ASCII terminals than I am with beautiful UIs and all the rest of it. But Kevin challenged me to learn to Flutter, and it's been a blast. So what you're going to see here is some of my learnings over the last 2 months learning Flutter and some of the things I've seen along the way. So
yeah, and if you're not familiar with Dart or Flutter, it's worth a look and some invest in some learning. It's really hot. There's a lot of demand out there for Flutter developers. You won't go wrong by spending some time learning this stuff. It's really good.
This is the Flutter.dev website. You can see some of the beautiful things that have been up and some of the people using it. Some of the car manufacturers are actually using it for their in-car entertainment systems, which is pretty amazing. The Ubuntu guys are using it for all of the installs. MGM is obviously using it. So why use it? Pretty simple, really. It's pixel perfect on any platform. And when I say any platform, I literally mean any platform. So that's iOS, Android, Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and anything in between. So yeah, I mean, extremely flexible. Write the core code once and then compile to any platform. That's why it's attractive. Kevin also mentioned widgets, and if you want to look for widgets, or you think, well, what I really need is an X or a Y, then there is a website called pub.dev, and this is where you can look up your widgets. So if I type in, I want a meter widget, then you can just there's a noise meter widget, and I can see exactly how to install it, all the code. So if I want a really simple meter, I can't type. Put this around the wrong way. Simple meter. This is actually a widget I was looking for not so long ago, and I used it in one of my apps. I'm not going to be able to find it now. I wonder if it's gauge. Gauge. Oh dear. What it is looking on one screen and not on the other screen. There we go. So you can look at charts. So you might not know how to code all this stuff in a beautiful chart. Well, that doesn't matter, because all you need to do is provide data to this widget, and it will come up on the screen. So widgets is extremely powerful. But of course, where do you start to learn how to do all this widget stuff? Well, you start at the beginning, and the Flutter team have done a really good job of going through tutorials. So there's some really good tutorials on flutter.dev, and this is one of the tutorials that stuck in my mind. So it's displaying a snack bar. So I don't know whether everybody knows what a snack bar is, but you'll see it. It tells you basically step by step on how to create the screen and how to display a snack bar. And you sort of go through this, you read it all, and then you actually have a demo inside your web browser. So this is real code. This is the real code that you can put. So I can say snack bar demo, and I could change this for this evening, or this for today, and I can run it, and it will actually run that program inside this window. There it is. So, and when you get the snack bar up, it says show a snack bar, and all it basically does is it pops up this little window. This is another widget. Everything's a widget in Flutter. So when you click the button, the snack bar turns up, and that's basically it. So there's a little bit of code here. You can put some extra stuff in here, and you can just rerun it. And you can see this is real live. So this is something called Dartpad. You can actually put your own stuff into Darpad, and it will just all run up for you as well. So there we go. So we've got the new one up there, and you can see there's my extra exclamation marks in the widget in real time. So that sort of struck me as a really cool demo, and it sort of set me up for, well, that's sort of interesting, but what if I'm going to be teaching people to do things on the app platform? How can we do that? So again, to try to work really hard to do things really simply. So if you go to @sign.dev, you can just hit the Get Started button, and there's a few things you can do. So one of the things I encourage you to do is actually try it. Actually try the platform. And if we click on this, there's actually 5 steps to send a snack. And there's a hint at the end of this, you're going to send a snack. But the 5 steps are really pretty simple. So what I thought I'd do is just run through these really quickly. It's that easy. So let's get up a terminal. So I'll just use a command prompt. I'm Windows, so let's get my Windows command line down here. So what it says here is let's get this over this side so you can see it. And we just need to run this command, and we can run that command, and it'll install all this good stuff. That's all part of Flutter. So you've obviously got to install Flutter first of all before you can run this command. And basically what that's doing is running a command that Xavier wrote called add app here at the ad company. And what it basically does is create applications for you that you can edit. So we've pre-written some applications that you can run, and it says you want to create your own app. So we go in here, and we will call it demo time. And that's it. We're going to hit it. It's going to create a project for the Flutter project. We'll add a little bit of app magic, and the demo goes. Yeah, it says it's all done. Awesome. So now it says run the demo app. So all we've got to do is run the demo app. So I'm going to bring down my IDE. I tend to use VS Code, and here's VS Code, and this is essentially the app that it's created. It's got a main.dart, and there's a bunch of code. And if we just scroll down here, you can see there's going to be some snacks in a minute. And as Kevin said, all you need to do is send a snack. And when we're sending a snack, this is the line that Kevin showed in the previous chart. This is an app client. So this is an object that knows all of it. And inside that snack bar, I'm actually going to send a snack. So there's the key, and that's it. That's basically what it's done. It's actually making it public, and so if we look up here, is public true. So that's good. So let's see if we can run it. So I have a Android emulator. So this is basically an Android. It's an Android machine, but it's running in an emulator. And if we just do Flutter run, as the instructions said, it will run that application. We'll build it first of all, and then it'll run it. And you'll see this is just a regular Android application. And it says onboard your @sign. I've actually already logged in. We also mentioned you don't need passwords once you've onboarded. It's using keys that are locked into your phone. And that's it. I'm on board, and I can send myself a snack. So I'm going to send myself snacks. So I'm going to send a crunchy bar. Okay. What's the next bit of instructions? Well, it says onboard an ad sign. So if I've actually already done this. If you want to get yourself a free ad sign, essentially this is when to do it, and then you'll get to this stage here. This is just running you through it, how to do it. Type in your email, and you'll get a code back, and then you type in that code. There's the code being typed in. Verify and log in, pick your ad sign. And yes, and you'll be asked to save some keys at this point. What's happening now is cryptographic keys are being developed on your mobile device, and it's important to save these keys because you are the only person who've got these keys, and you may be asked for them again to set up other applications. So it's important to keep those keys safe, but once you've got them safe, then you can log in, and essentially you'll see the same screen as I've got here. So send a snack. This is the last step. So essentially this is very similar to the snack bar that we had earlier, and it's asking me to what's my ad sign. So my ad sign is very long, so hopefully I can cut and paste it over here. Maybe it'll be quicker to type. I'm not sure. Let's just type it. No big deal. So you can see it's eventual blacksmithing. So we need an ad sign. Eventual blacksmithing. Anthony, did I type that right? I think so. All right. Oh yeah, I got a dime bar. Look at that, straight in the browser. That dime bar's come from. I'm going to send a Snickers bar this time, and see what the Snickers bar turns up. It did. So this Android app can be running anywhere on the planet, and somebody can be looking on this website, and you can send yourself a snack bar. So that's pretty cool. But this is not end-to-end encrypted, because what this is doing is sending a bit of information from here, a public bit of information. Essentially, this is another Flutter app, but running inside a browser, and it's picking up public information. So if we go back to the website, it says if you're looking for a more advanced version of our snack bar demo, look no further, and you'll be able to send real-time end-to-end encrypted snacks. And yeah, snacks are chocolate bars. Nobody realized that, but and there's another app here that you can go through. I've actually got that running in another IDE, so I'll just bring that one down. So again, it's the same thing. Flutter activate, create the snack bar application, and this is the code that you see. And you'll see yet again, it's sending snacks, but this time it's actually not sending public snacks. It's saying, is this public? No, it's not public. It's false. Is this encrypted? Yes, it is. And we're actually sending, it's shared by this at sign, and we're sharing it with sending, send snack to is actually another at sign. So let's actually run this up. I'll split the terminals. So I've got two terminals, and I'll get another emulator up. So we're on emulator number 2, and emulator 3. So let me get this one down here. These are just booting up, so it will take a second to boot up. This one's a pixel. And there's the other emulator. So this is emulator number 3, emulator number 2. And let's run this app. So literally just like before, Flutter run. Well, obviously, we're going to run 2 of them this time. I'm going to run it on, this one's going to be number 2. And if we run it, Flutter run over here, to be a number 3. Look at our Android emulators. This is the first one where we don't want that one. We want this one. This is number 2. And this is number 3. And I'm going to onboard the sign there. Here we go. All right, here's the other emulator. And you can see this one successfully on board as a Neat Midnight Blue. That's the sign for this application. And so that one's up and working. This one's taking its time to install. Let's see why. The live demo. Let's get these out of the way for a second. All right, I'm going to terminate that job and we'll start again. You know what it's like with live demos. All right, we'll try again. Oh, there we go. It's come up this time. Typical. It may have not actually fully booted up, so I'm going to onboard the add sign over here. Again, if you haven't onboarded your add sign, it will just ask you to either get a free one or to upload your keys. And it's now asking you which add sign would I like to send a snack to. Well, obviously on this window, what I'd like to do is send it to this one. So this is a fancy add sign. Fancy jigsaw puzzles, and I'd like to send the snack to that. All right, so it says I've actually sent a snack to fancy jigsaw puzzles, and on this one, I'd like to send it to Neat. Oh, there is. Just turn up. That's good. So I want to send it to Neat. Midnight Blue. All right, we send a snack. We're going to send a Mars bar over there. So we're sending a Mars bar from this Android emulator over to this one. Then it's turned up, and it says it's from Fancy Jigsaw Puzzles. Now, what's interesting here is we actually get to find out who sent us the snack. So we could actually, different add signs would send you different snacks, and you might be able to react to it differently. So this is all happening in real time. You can actually see the logs in the background. This is not magic. It's just code working. And I'll just go back to this this is a magic thing. And to get these things going from one place to the other, it really is as simple as putting a key. You just there's the key, there's the snack, and we're just saying where we want to send it to. It's really is crazy simple to get these applications up and working. It's a little bit more difficult to make them look beautiful. You may notice these are not beautiful looking apps. I can tell you why. That's because I wrote the code. So if you would like to take that app and make it more beautiful, make it do different things, maybe send pictures of snacks or I don't know, whatever you want to do, that would be awesome. We can see it's not too difficult to do. I better stop talking now, otherwise I'll be doing it all day. Anything you guys want to talk about? I did get it working both times. This is good.
I think we're at time or anyway, so this is perfect time.
There we go. I'll stop sharing and there we go.
Yeah, I think it's a great time to ask the audience if they have any questions for us. Yeah, I have the chat open. Feel free to fire away any questions. So, Colin, while we wait for any questions, how long did it take for you to build the snack bar app?
I reckon. in between lots of meetings and all the rest of it, probably a week to just do it. But yeah, overall, probably a day. And I was learning along the way. There's and actually, the app platform's the ridiculously easy bit. And I was actually doing some bug testing for Xavier, who wrote the ad app. The thing that's most impressive here is not the Flutter app. It's actually the ad app that you run to just magically create the code, which is just a joy. So really hats off to Xavier who made that a reality, because it means that you can run your own code and you can do whatever you like with the code afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think that gives a good idea for folks who are new to even Flutter as well. I mean, as a new developer on the Flutter technology, I mean, including that, it just took you a week amidst everything that you did, right? So it's super easy for folks who are here to learn Flutter along the way and do stuff on the app platform as well.
Yeah, I'm a little bit better these days, a little bit faster. I've been working on something today for a demo with, well, actually one of my colleagues, Chris and Gary, are doing in Barcelona in a few weeks, and probably taken me half a day, and I've got a whole bunch of flashy dials and login screens all working, just because it's so much. It's once you start getting into it, it's so much easier. But I mean, as I say, the ad stuff is crazy easy. That's the easy bit.
Anthony Chiton was asking, how many @ signs can I have?
I was going to say that's probably a great question for you, Kevin. Go for it.
No, you can get it.
No, I think you should do it and probably explain why people need more @ signs.
Yeah, so we have different kinds of @ signs. So if you want a free one, like the ones that Colin was showing you, those are ones that are auto-generated. They're pretty funky and fun, and people have a lot of fun just playing with it to get ones that they like. But you can get up to 10 of those for free, and then after that, there are @ signs that start at $10 and go up to $1,000, depending upon how rare the word is. And so, first names like @Colin and @Kevin are expensive because there's only one. There's not that many first names out there. There's about 5,300, as it turns out. And so that's the way that we price it. But feel free to get free ones, play around with it, and then if you want to, if you're a big influencer and have a brand, then you might want to get one that matches your brand. Cost you a little bit of money, but maybe $10 or maybe more. And we support emojis as well, which is kind of fun. So you can we have a lot of people with the Flutter crowd who likes the blue heart emojis.
Yeah, I was just using free ones. That's why they were fancy jigsaw puzzles. So I thought it was a pretty good one. But
yeah, that's a good one.
That's a free one. There's a good question from Random Stree. Maybe you saw that one.
Hey, go for it, Colin. You want to take that?
Sure. I'll let Kevin fill in a little bit as well. So, can you reliably implement end-to-end encryption for web applications without a separate client installed application or server? And the answer is probably not with our platform. And the reason why is essentially there's no safe place to store the cryptographic keys on a web browser. So you saw when I was demoing the first demo, when you're sending a snack to a web browser, that was public information. And it's public because if it was encrypted, that means the browser would have to look after cryptographic keys, and it's just not trustworthy enough. We're working on it. But for the moment, at least, it's applications talking to applications because we can guarantee there's a safe place to put the keys. But Kevin, do you want to talk about some of the stuff we've been doing about browsers?
Yeah, so I mean, exactly as you said, it's where do you store the keys? And I mean, laptops and phones all have keychains. So that's a great place to store keys. But in a browser, getting access to those is not really supported yet. So the only way to do that is to do a browser plugin. So that's something we're actually looking at right now.
All right, Akshay. I think we are done from our side. But on behalf of everyone at the Ad Company, we want to thank Full Stack Squared for giving us the opportunity to be here and have a lot of fun along the way.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining in for the session. Uh, I guess everyone are sharing their reviews, so we've got like everyone are enjoying the session. Thank you for that. It was pleasure having you all for the event. Thank you so much.
Pleasure being here.
Yeah, I loved
Thank
it.
you. All the best. Bye.
Have fun at the hackathon.
Thank you so much. So guys, for the next session, we'll be just starting in another 5 minutes. So we just take a 5 minute wrap, and then we'll start with the new session. So we'll share more details in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you so much, guys. So please, meanwhile, wait. So we'll just start the next session at 2 p.m.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Can you hear me all? Okay, thank you so much for the confirmation. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Pranjal from Dayscript and I welcome you all to Full Stack Squared powered by the AdSign company. So before getting started, I just want to share a very few exciting things for you. First of all, we have a few giveaways as many of you were asking. So first one is that we have 10,000 assured Microsoft certifications for all of you and also 50 custom t-shirts from the AdSign company. You have to complete a very few easy steps for that. First one would be that fill the form which I'll share in the chat link now, and second one would be join the Discord channel of Azure Microsoft. Okay. Okay. Also, today at the end of the session, we will conduct a short quiz for all of you where you can solve it immediately and win many exciting awards. So stay tuned till the end also. Today's session is about using Postman. So, do any of you know what Postman is, or have you guys used it anywhere before? Okay, so I can see a few replies. And have you worked with it before? Okay, that's cool. So today we are going to learn about it, and our speaker will join us shortly and continue the session. So thank you for being patient. We'll start right now. Okay. Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Hey, hello. How are you doing, Pranjal?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm also doing good.
Okay. So can we start the session if you're okay?
Oh yes, definitely. Let's get started.
Okay. So before starting, I'd just like to introduce you all to our speaker. Ali is the student community lead at Postman and a cloud and machine learning trainer. He is also a EEE MGA Larry K. Wilson Regional Student Volunteer Awardee. He dedicates a significant amount of time interacting with students and developers who want to learn and develop exceptional things beyond the college curriculum. He inspires and teaches lakhs of students through workshops, seminars, and his own course named Machine Learning Fast Track. Welcome, Ali. It is an honor to have you with us. I request you to please take over the session ahead.
Sure thing. Thank you so much, Pranjal, for that information and that introduction. I guess I love hearing about myself. Who doesn't? So thank you so much. Let's get started. I'll quickly share my screen and then we'll go live. Okay. Let's get started. Okay, just give me a moment. I just don't want to make sure that the echo is coming in. Oops. Okay, looks good. Give me a moment, and we will share the screen. Till then, tell me, where are you folks from? Yep, yep. Where are you folks from? Mention it in the chat. Yep, 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 yep. Mumbai, Pune. Oh, India. Okay, that's good. If you're from different countries, then that would be really good. Nashik. Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. Then we have Ghaziabad, Gujarat. Oh, from north to kind of, west to east, everywhere. Okay. What about others? I see more than 28 people live, so I need answers. Till then, I'm making my, presentation live. Yep. Delhi, okay. That's good. I've been to Delhi. Uttar Pradesh. Oh, yeah. Awesome. So welcome everyone. Let's get started with today's session. So today we are going to talk about APIs. Okay. This is a very beginner friendly session, so it's for anyone who does not know anything about APIs, right? So even for you, this session is there. I guess my presentation is not yet visible. Organizers, can you put it forward maybe? Oh yes, now it is visible. Okay. So yeah, we are going to learn about APIs and we are going to learn about a little bit about Postman. Moving forward, what is Postman, how Postman helps in API first development, and all around that. Okay. So my name is Ali Mustafa, and I'm the student community lead here at Postman. We have multiple programs for students, and I'm going to talk about them at the very end. What we also have at the very end is to win some awesome swags from you folks. Obviously you can kind of go ahead and each one of you can win a swag. So stay tuned till the end to know how to win these cool swags. Like for the one which I'm wearing, and there are amazing pens and zippers and whatnot, right? So yeah, stay to the end. Be part of our challenge and earn some really good swags at the end. You can also connect with me on Twitter at ILE Mustafa. I'll share it, later, and you can kind of connect there. So, what are we going to learn today? We're going to learn about APIs, basics of APIs, kind of request responses, and we'll try out some things and follow up with the resources. And then there will be a simple Q and A where you can ask anything which you kind of want to ask, and then we can move forward from there. So, what's an API? An API, in a very simple term, I give an example of a restaurant. Okay. So if you have ever been to a restaurant, it's very simple. You go, you sit on the table, and then the waiter comes in, gives you the menu. You kind of order the food, and then the waiter goes to the back end, which is the kitchen, where the food is prepared and then given to you. So what happens with you is the whole abstraction of preparing the food, cutting the food, cooking the food is hidden from you. Okay. You are just served, kind of the end result of it. And that's what APIs do. APIs kind of enable you to kind of hide the complexity behind these systems and allow one system to talk with another system, or the same systems to talk between one feature to another feature in a very very simple way. In CS terminology, we would call you as client, the waiter as API, and then the backend as server, where the whole processing is gonna happen. You might have used APIs in your day-to-day life. You literally use thousands, if not hundreds of API, every day, every single day. And APIs empower the world today as we see it. So let's understand APIs in a bit of a technicality. Okay. How many of you use Instagram? Watching reels, posting Instagram stories, flexing, right? I want to see all these influencers out there. Okay. Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, any of these apps, right? Which provide you ability to post, ability to comment, and whatnot. Yeah. Me, okay, Pranav uses Insta. Okay, I also use Insta a little bit, but yeah, I want to know more. Let's hear from others as well. Okay, Chintan also says they also use it. Okay, that's good. Oh, okay. That's a good marketing strategy. Directly the handle in the chat. Awesome. Yeah, most of us use it, right? So, let me give you a very little technical example of how these things work, right? So let's say you open Instagram and you want to post a story. So you are attending this awesome session and you want to, kind of make sure others know that you're attending this session, right? So in that case, what you're going to do is you're going to open Instagram. and then that app will open camera. Now, this is a hardware basically, right? Camera is a hardware, and Instagram is a software which is going to kind of get access to a hardware device. And this is where low level APIs kind of come into the picture, where the APIs are, APIs directly kind of controls the hardware of the system, and then they kind of, lock your camera so that you can kind of, click some photos, click some videos, and then put it on Instagram's interface. Now that does not end there. What you do is you kind of put in a GIF, you will put in a sticker, or you'll put in a really cheesy song, if you wish to. And what happens is it uses external APIs where you can kind of use a GIF from Giphy. So Instagram does not own all these GIFs. It's part of Giphy, which GIF repository. So, Instagram is using that public API to enable that and to kind of use these, GIFs within Instagram and allow you to use that feature. So like that, you can also use these GIFs in your own applications as well using public APIs. Now, once that is done, you click on upload. What happens then? It goes to Instagram's private servers, okay, where Instagram kind of uploads this image onto their private server and then, share it with your followers. If your account is public, everyone can see it. But if your account is private, only your followers can see it. So that kind of mechanism, kind of is put in place, and then people are able to see your story and comment on it and share it and, reply and, other things. So everything happens via APIs, internal APIs, external APIs, public APIs, and whatnot. Today we are going to focus on public APIs, where we are going to kind of use a service, walk around with it, and see how we can do simple core operations on API. So that's going to be our goal today. Okay. So let's get deeper. Okay. I guess obviously I've talked much more about APIs, so I'm not gonna go by the definition. But if you wanna kind of define APIs in theory, you can say APIs are application programming interface that allows you to kind of communicate with one another. Now, interfaces here is a very important word, because interface can be anything. It can be my watch, it can be my mobile phone, it can be my computer, it can be anything, right? So my watch shows me weather, but my watch does not have a SIM card, which does not allow it to kind of fetch it. So it uses an external API via my phone to enable weather services on my watch, which is how APIs work, right? So even though they would not have like a satellite which is kind of constantly sending them the weather data, the company would not own that, obviously. So they would rely on another company which owns the satellites, which can provide weather data and other parts which can enable them to kind of reduce it. So you'll definitely see a lot of use cases. A very simple use case is ATM. So you go with your ATM card, you swipe it, you can kind of pay to anyone and everyone using that card. So that's another good example of APIs in practice. Awesome. So there's an API for literally everything. There's a cat API if you don't like cats, you're a dog person, there's a dog API. Okay. Then there is Discord APIs, Google APIs, Facebook API, Twitter APIs, and whatnot. So we are going to talk, see some more examples around it and, see how does it work. Okay. So yeah, don't worry. We have a lot of hands-on, which will give you a lot of practice around working with APIs for sure. Okay. So I usually say APIs are kind of building blocks, right? So they are like Legos. So have you ever used Legos? Anyone when you were a kid? I still use it even though I'm grown up, but I still use Legos. How many of you have used Legos? If you're not aware about Legos, they are plastic blocks which you can assemble together and create whatever you wish. The only limit is your imagination. So you can literally go ahead and create whatever you want, from a car to a tower to a bridge to whatever, right? Oh, I see Shivam saying yes. Yeah, build castles. Oh yeah, yeah, that's an exciting use case. Pranav, yes, right? So we build stuff, right? With these little blocks. So consider these little blocks as individual APIs. Okay, that makes your development lifecycle so easy, because now you can remove any block at any given time and kind of replace it with another block. So your feature development becomes easier. Okay. people can see, can integrate your feature into internal teams. At the same time, external folks, external developers who are going to use your product can also access these features via an API. And that's why we say APIs are nothing but they are kind of Legos in the software industry, right? So you assemble these Legos one by one, develop individual APIs and then club them together and then use them for solving your use case. Okay. So that's about, APIs as a Lego, to understand it in much more simpler way. Okay. Awesome. What is Postman then? Okay, we talked about APIs a lot. So what about Postman? So Postman is a collaborative API development platform. I emphasize on the word collaborative because it enables you to collaborate with other developers and not just you kind of, working on stuff. Because in a real world scenario, you're not going to be working alone. You'll be working in a team, and collaboration really matters. Okay. So Postman allows you to kind of go ahead, work in a team and create powerful API designs and support API development while creating, using, and kind of documenting the API in a very, very easy way. Around 98% of Fortune 500 companies use Postman, which include PayPal, Philips, Kroger, Walt Disney, and Uber, and so many more, right? And around 65% of global 2000 organizations use Postman as well. So you can see Postman is like much more, like the go-to tool when we talk about working with APIs and whenever APIs kind of come into the picture. So the whole reason my API, Postman came into, kind of picture is because of the very initial version of what Postman did. So earlier, when Postman was not there, people would use the code command line to kind of fetch the APIs and, see the responses, headers, and kind of, everything would be kind of manual. So Abhinav, who kind of, faced this similar problem twice and thrice, who's our co-founder and CEO, kind of, developed an idea that, okay, why not simplify that via an UI where we could develop a Chrome app. And then, on basis of that, right now, Postman is such a big company, right? So you can see, how Postman simplifies working with APIs, while providing you a browser-like UI where you can, post a URL, add params, and, kind of send a request, receive a response, and get your work done very, very easily. Okay. So before we go to the practical, there are two only aspects of theory. So the idea of how, API work is that you need to send a request and then you need to receive a response from that request. So basically you kind of send a request and then you receive a response as a result of kind of sending the request. Okay. So this is like a very simple life cycle. Send a request or receive a response. So before we move on to the practical, we need to cover a little bit of theory around what is a request, how to make a request, what is a response, how to decode the response. Okay. So let's dive in. Okay. So what is a request? So, the whole pattern is like there is a client, as I told you, it is an interface. The interface can be anything. It can be a system, it can be a watch, it can be a mobile phone. Okay. Now that system kind of wants to talk with the server. So what it does is it uses the network to send a request to the server. And once the server receives the request, it will like be, okay, what do you want? Okay, so client is like, I want balance of XYZ account number because they're requesting to withdraw money. So the server is like, okay, let me search my resources and give you the balance. And then the server sends a response to the client, which the client decodes and displays it on the screen or, does processing on top of it. Okay. Imagine it as a very simple, for an example, it can be like a ticketing system where you go add your PNR and your, airplane ticket is printed in a very simple fashion. Okay, so there are three major parts of, making a request. Method is like a verb. It's like an action item. Okay, so there are basically many, many methods available, but we are going to talk about four methods: get, post, put, delete. Get method to get information, post method to send information, add information, put method to update information, and delete method to delete information from the server. So get, post, put, delete. 4 methods, which are the basic methods, which we are going to learn today. Are there more than 4 methods? Yes, there are more than 4 methods. Okay, which you'll learn about later as you kind of develop your knowledge around APIs. Then the second part is around the address or the endpoint where we are going to send this request to. Okay, so it's going to be an IP address or it's going to be a domain name. So for example, google.com, or for example, any other website like postman.com, and so on and so forth. Okay, and then comes path. Path is where the resource is located. Okay, this is going to give direction on that server where we are looking for that resource. So for example, if you're looking for multiple users, you'll be like /users, and so on and so forth. Let's see that in much more detail. Okay, so here we can see this is basically how the Postman console look like. So in the drop down, you can select multiple methods. So here we have selected the get method, which is going to help us retrieve information. But you can change it with push, put patch, or delete method based on what action we want to perform on the server. Okay. Then comes the second part, which is the URL. The URL is again divided into 3 parts. The first one is the protocol, then the endpoint, and then the path. Okay. So here you can see this is the protocol, this is the host, and then this is the path. Okay. So this is how the whole division kind of happens. Once you hit a send, you will receive a response, and then you need to decode that response. Okay. So let me quickly show you a very quick example. So this is a demo. You don't need to do it with me. I'm gonna show you how it works, and then you can definitely kind of try it later on. Okay. So let me go to okay, I have multiple works. I'll go to my workspace. Okay, and then I'm gonna add a simple request to google.com. I'm gonna use Google search as basically my my API. So I'm gonna say new, I'm gonna say HTTP request, and here you can see, as I was telling you, you can drop down and select the method get, post, put, delete, patch, like different methods. I'm gonna use get method. And now I can write the URL HTTPS, and then I'm going to add google.com. Okay. Then I'll go here and hit a send. Now what will happen is it will give me the homepage of google.com. As you can see, I received a response. Okay. Now the response is in HTML format. So I can actually go here and I can actually, see that in a preview and see the HTML page. Obviously, so CSS will be broken because obviously it is like, not a browser, but like a browser like, interface. So here you can see the CSS is broken, but I can still see Google search homepage. You can see the response also gives you like a status code, which tells you if your request was successful or if it was not successful. It also shows you the time, the size of the response we have received, headers and other things, which, which is like body, which is where the data is. Okay. So we are going to add now a very simple parameter. So we are gonna kind of do, so my idea is to add something here. Okay, add something in this text box. So we are gonna send another request. Okay, and this time watch carefully what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to add another parameter. I'm gonna name it, let's say I'll name it Q. Okay, and then I'm going to add the query as postman. Okay, so as soon as I add that, I can see the query params here added, Q and value. Okay, now Q is predefined, so it's not like I am making it out of the blue. It is predefined. So if I hit send now, it will give me the response, but it will add postman in the text box. I can replace that with anything. So let's say I want to replace that with API fetched. So I can replace that value with API fetched. And then I can hit send again. And whoop, API fetched is inside this text box. Okay. Now the last part is the missing content. Okay. So the missing content is I want search results. So let's say if I go here to google.com and I search for API fetched, I see some result. Okay, so I see some Twitter results, I see some GitHub stuff, I see some posts from some students and whatnot, right? So now let's go back and let's try to see the search result here. So for that, I will have to add a path. Okay. So here I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a very simple path. I'll add it as search. Okay. And now that I have added this path, I'm gonna hit send again, and now I should see the response. And now you can see exactly what we wanted to kind of do. So we got API we saw the same result, more or less same thing. Let's try that for Postman. So I'm gonna put this here and I'm gonna add Postman and hit end. Sorry, hit enter, not end. And then I see about Postman and other details here. So that's how I can use Google search as a very simple API, right? Now, one more thing, one more interesting thing I want to show you before we wrap up the demo. Okay. So here you can see the URL is pretty big, right? For us, the URL was very small, but here the URL is pretty big. So what are all these parameters which Google is sending? Let's try to understand. So let's copy this URL. Okay, let's copy this URL. Let's go to Postman and paste this URL. And as soon as you paste, what do you see? You see the response that all the params are filled here. Okay, so it automatically extracted all the parameters and you're able to see all the parameters right here. Okay, like right here. So you can see Google is not just sending Q. So we only need Q, by the way. Okay, but Google is sending source, EI, VED, whatever stuff, collecting more data while sending this request, right? So for any big URL you want to decode, you can just post it in Postman, and Postman will tell you what are the details, key value pair they are trying to send to the server. Okay, so yeah, that's about a little bit of demo. Let's move back and let's close this window. Awesome. Cool. Now you saw in the response, we obviously, we build the request, we added parameters, query params. We can also add authorization. We can, because, not every server is allowed to communicate. Not every client is allowed to communicate with the server. So in that case, you'll need authorization. And we'll talk about authorization in the later workshops because this is a beginner level workshop. And then you sometimes also add headers and body. You usually add body in put and post request. Why? Because you're going to update the server, right? So in that case, you will add a body. You'll add a body. In case you want to add something to the server or you want to update some data to the server. Awesome. So what are the data types in body? You can have, so as I told you, we usually use body and post and put requests. So data types include like form data, JSON, etc., etc. Today we are going to talk about JSON, so we'll stick to JSON right now, but you can explore other data types as well. So what is JSON? JavaScript object notation. Very simple key value pair. So there's a key, there's a value, and then they both match, right? So name, you can see John Doe, email, jane@email.com, and then birth year and the birth year basically. So that's how it kind of works. So JSON is very simple key value pair, which we are going to use for our specific use case today. Okay. Now the last part is a response. Obviously, there are multiple status codes which are involved in the response. For example, 200 which says everything is fine, 201 which says created, 404 not found. For example, here you can see our status code was basically 200. So status code enable you to understand what is happening. If you hover, it will also tell you like a theory around it, right? So you can have a look at it. Awesome. Enough of talking. Let's dive deeper into the practical, right? So let's go to this URL. I'll post this URL in the chat so that you folks can have a look at it, right? So let me post that right away in the chat. Okay. Okay, can organizers post it in the live chat, please? Awesome. Awesome. So now you can see it is visible. You will be able to kind of, see it there. So yeah, this is the URL. So what are we going to do? What is this? This is a Postman public workspace. Okay. So it is like a public workspace. So you can kind of go there, you can collaborate with people and, everything you can do everything here. Okay. So what are we going to do? We are going to do a very simple workshop. Okay. So on the left hand side, you can see there is basics of API, and other things. So you are going to use basics of API for today. So click on basics of API. Once you click on basics of API, it will open a window like this. And on the right hand side, you will be able to see the documentation. Okay. Now remember, public workspace enables collaboration. What does that mean? That means, so as people are visiting, I can see more people joining in here. So you can see +7. So I can see, other people joining in here as you are joining, right? I want to see a magic. Let's try to see how collaborative the platform is. So here you can see on the right hand side, on the very right hand side, you can see there is a comment. Okay. So first is documentation and there is comment. Click on comment and add a comment. Okay. So you can add like hello from Mumbai or wherever place you are from, or hello from your college name or something like that, or hello from your name. Okay. So hello from Shivam. So you can see here, Amolika has said hello from YouTube. So you can write, hello from Mumbai and something like that and add a comment. Okay. So let me see if I can see more comments come here. You can see there are 500 comments out there, right? So let's see the collaborative feature. Make sure you are in basics of API, right? So yeah, I see a new comment. Hello from Gujarat. Hey Chintan, yeah, awesome. Now, if you don't have a Postman account, it's very easy to sign up. Okay. So in a case you don't have a Postman account, I'll show you. I'll just log out of this, right? I'll sign out. And I'll show you how easy it is to create a account on Postman. So here you can see this is the place where you're going to kind of create an account. So once you create an account, you have to only add email, username, and password, and nothing more. Once you add these details, you can create a free account, and then you will kind of go ahead and you will kind of receive an email where you can confirm your account and you can get started. If you want to make it more easier, you can actually sign up with Google, which will enable you to kind of sign up with your Google account, and you don't have to add other details in that case, and it will automatically assign you a username, and then you can change it later as well. Okay, it's free for up to 3 people, in a team. So if you're an individual user, it will be free for you forever. But if you are from, non-profit or an education platform, we have to provide you the enterprise license, from your college. So in case you are a student and you want to work with Postman, for your educational project, reach out to us, reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to give you a license in your college where you can use with other peers as well. So okay, yeah, I signed out, so it is not allowing me. So let me sign in. Okay, so now that I know, let me go back to that URL again. Okay, so I can, let me see more comments. Oh, hello from Delhi. Hey Akshat. Okay, so now we are going to fork this repo. Okay, so here you can see there is a run in Postman button out here. Okay, run in Postman button. So what I want you to do is I want you to click on this button. Okay, when it will be visible in the documentation segment. If you don't find documentation, just click on these 3 dots in basics of API and click on kind of view documentation, and you will be able to see the documentation. Okay, once you're able to see the documentation, click on run in Postman button. Okay, I'll share this direct documentation URL in the chat in case you are not able to open the documentation. Okay, organizers, can you please put that in the chat so that people can see it? Okay, so I'll give a minute for people to come here, right, and then we will follow along. Remember, this practical is very important because then it will teach you how to work with APIs in the very first place, and second, for swags also. So if you're able to do this practical properly, you will definitely be able to earn some really cool swags. in the challenge at the end of the day. Okay. So I guess the URL is posted. Not yet. I don't see the URL yet in the chat. Okay, let's wait for a minute. You have shared the wrong URL. Okay, I guess the URL now is visible. So you can go there and click on, okay, let me go there and click on run in Postman button. As soon as I click there, it will allow me to fork the collection in your workspace. What does collection mean? Collection is basically like a folder which will have multiple requests together. And workspace is like a root folder which will have multiple collections together. Okay. Workspace also might have APIs and monitor and other details there, which are kind of advanced features we'll talk about later. But what fork eventually does is it will kind of copy, it will create a fork. It is like you do in GitHub, right? So it's like the complete public workspace is like a Git controlled version. So you can kind of fork it. You can create a pull request. You can actually do all of that, right? So right now let's go and hit fork collection. Once you click on fork collection, it will kind of fork the collection and ask you for a label. You can keep the label as it is or you can change it. I usually love to have the label for the date. So today is Feb 11. So I'm going to put the label as Feb 11. And for workspace, I'm going to put that in my public workspace. Or I'll put that inside. Okay, I'll put that in my workspace. Okay. Now, if you will not see like so many options like I do, right? So you'll only see few options there. So in that case, you can select my workspace and click on fork a collection. So click on fork a collection and it will fork that collection and redirect you to your workspace. Now, don't be, scared of seeing so many, collections in my repo because I kind of take a lot of workshops. In yours, it will be only one. Okay. So you will only have one collection basically. If your account is new or if your account is old, you might have more than one. Okay. Now the very first thing which we do before we learn something new is what? Can someone tell me? Before I learn something, what is the first thing I need to do? Yeah. So on the left hand side, if I look, that's where the chat is, right? So I usually look on the left to kind of see the chat, what the chat is speaking. Okay. Let's see. What do you look at very first when you start learning something? Documentation, right? Exactly. So you're gonna open the documentation. So click on these three dots and click on view documentation. Awesome. So now as soon as we open documentation, I see a lot of civilized developers with us today. I never used to open documentation first. My first thing was how do I run hello world program without looking at the documentation. And then I would spend 2 hours running that program and then realize, oh, it was just like one line. Okay. That feeling. Okay. So now that we have created a better documentation for you folks, let's go ahead and let's start with our practical. Okay. Now we have three options to use: quote, a joke, and work. Okay. Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment before we get started, right? Okay. Where is StreamYard? Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah. So sorry for that. Okay. Let's continue. So which API do you want to work with? We have quote, joke, and book API. Which API do you wish to work with? Put it in the chat and I'll select that API. Okay. Come on, be quick, be quick. Which API do you want to work with? Joke API, joke API. Okay, so we'll work with joke API. Okay. So let's get started. Let's work with the joke API. So how are we going to start working with it? So the very simple part is to first go to the base URL. So this is the base URL. Let's copy the base URL. Copy the base URL. So copy it. Control C. Copy it. Okay. Copy the base URL, and then go to the very first request, which is get data. So here you can see it says add the variable here. Okay. So let's add the variable there. Let's add the variable. Let's add the URL there, not the variable. Let's add the URL there. Okay, we have added the URL there, and let's hit send. Let's hit send, and tell me what do you see in the response. Okay, so you need to tell me two things. What do you see in the response, and what is the status code which you see in the response? Okay. Come on, quick, quick, quick. Okay, hello world 200. Okay, exactly right. So it says hello world, which means just a response, basic response, right? And then the status is 200. Okay, meaning that everything went good, and it returns 0. So now we are going to work with the joke API, right? So let's add the extension of / joke. Hit enter, and tell me what do you see in the response, or hit send, hit enter, hit send, same thing, and tell me what do you see in the response. Come on, folks. JSON data. Yes. So I see, joke number 1. What is a hardware? A part of the computer which you can kick, right? Okay. Yes. So that is like a good joke. Can you tell me some more jokes which you got? Yes. Can you tell me some more jokes? Who is a programmer? A programmer is a machine who turns into coffee. First rule of programming, it works, don't touch it, right? So you'll see random jokes, right? Everyone saw random jokes, right? So what does it mean? It means, if you directly send the query, it will give you random jokes. Now let's get a specific joke. So I want everyone to see the hardware joke. Okay. So let's go here and let's add the ID. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select a forward slash, and then I'm gonna add an ID like 1. Okay. Hit enter, and everyone should now see joke number 1, because we have now filtered the request to say only joke number 1 should be returned. Okay, so that's what I'm going to see as a response. Okay, awesome. Let's go further. Okay, so now I'm going to add a joke. Okay, so in that case I'm going to create a new request. So how am I going to do that? So very simple. On the left hand side, go to the 3 dots. On the left hand side, go to the 3 dots, click on these 3 dots and click on add request. Click on add request. Name the request. Don't keep the request nameless. Okay, so name it. What we are going to name it? Add joke. Okay, we're going to add our joke. We're going to name it add joke request. Okay, so again I'll show you the method. Hover on the basics of API, click on these 3 dots, and then click on add request. Okay, click on add request. Once you click on add request, basically what it is going to do is it is going to prompt a new window where you can name it like add joke, and then you are good. Now the second thing which we need to do is we need to change the method to post method. Why? Can someone tell me why? Why do I need to change the method to post? Yes, yes. Can someone tell me? Come on. Easy, easy, easy. Exactly, Chintan. Exactly, right? So now we want to build up this, but I don't know what to add in URL and other details, right? So where will I find these details? Yes, folks. I don't know what to add in the in the URL, or if I need to add a body or not. Where will I, if I need to add a parameter or not? Where will I find this information? Can someone tell me? Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, exactly, Norm. Yeah, yeah, Shivam. Exactly, exactly, exactly. Okay. Documentation, exactly. So let's open the documentation. Let's go to the documentation and let's see the joke documentation. So you can see this is the joke documentation, right? So you can actually go to the hyperlink here. So you can click on joke documentation, and then we are adding the post one, right? The post request. So let's go to the post request. So you can see base URL and then the joke. So the URL is going to remain the same. So let's copy the base URL. Let's copy the base URL. Let's copy the base URL and go back and paste it. Oh no, this is not the one. Okay. Here you have multiple tabs, so paste it here, and then it is going to remain the same. Okay. Now what next the documentation says? Documentation says that, hey, add the body in your request, okay, and select the JSON from the drop down. So let's copy this body. Let's copy this body. Go there, go to body, click on raw, and then click on JSON. Paste the body. Okay, very simple. Go to body, click on raw, then in the drop down, click on JSON. I'll give you a moment to do it till here and give me a thumbs up in the chat. Okay, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Where did I copy this body from? Documentation. Okay, so yeah, remember that. Come on, folks, once you're done. Okay, good, good. Chintan is on board. What about Pranav, Norm, other people? Shivam, Sudhir was also here, right? Prashant, Pranav. Come on, folks. So Pranav said, okay, cool, cool, cool. Awesome. Let's go next. Okay. So now change the author to your name. Okay. Change it to your name. Now I cannot change. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I cannot change my name for the session, right? My name is Ali Mustafa, so I'm gonna keep it Ali Mustafa. But change it to your name. Okay, whatever your name is. Keep the joke as it is. Keep the joke as it is. Not a problem. Okay. Don't need to research on the joke right now. Just keep it as it is. And for source you can keep it empty, or you can keep it whatever you wish to. So I'm gonna keep ira.dev. You can keep the source whatever you wanna keep it right now. Okay, cool. Now that you have changed your name, hit send and tell me what do you see in the response. Okay, so hit send and tell me what do you see in the response. Oh, okay. I'm working on the wrong set. Just give me a moment. Let me copy it here. A body, a raw JSON, paste it here, and then it looks good. Hit send. Save the request, okay, because then it will not say. What does it say? It says 400. Okay, it will say what? It will say 400. It should not give you 404, Shivam. It should give you 400. Bad request. Let's hover and see what does it means. It says the request cannot be fulfilled due to a bad request. Now what do we get in the error message? Error message says that joke with ID1 already exists. Okay, so now change it to any ID which you wish. So by default, ID is 0, 1, 2, 3 is there. One ID will not be there. So change the ID to any ID, any random integer. Okay. I'll use 99 or I'll use 101 because API 101, right? But you can use any other ID. Don't tell your ID to anyone else. Okay. Keep it with you because that is very important. That's the only way of others not knowing your ID. Okay. So keep the ID with you, hit send, and you should receive 201. So once you change the ID, you will receive 201, which is basically created. So change the ID to, anything which you kind of wish. Basically, so don't tell ID in the chat. Keep your ID with yourself. Okay, don't tell to anyone. Your ID should be with you. Okay. Okay. Now let me show you the UI of it. Okay, how it looks like. Okay. So let me show you the UI part of it. Okay. So let me open a new tab. Here you can see, I see Ishani, bugs are features, Rakesh, bugs are features, Shivam HTML is a programming language. Okay. This is mine, bugs are features, Akshat, bugs are features, Chintan, I have a joke on programming, but it only works on my computer. That's a good joke. Okay. So what we just did, you can see everyone is on a different PC. Everyone, maybe, some are on Windows laptops, some are on Mac, some are on different systems, right? But we all were able to collectively send something to the server via API, right? So that's the power of APIs. That's how APIs kind of work. Okay. So you can see all these visible right here. How cool is that? Yeah, it's cool, right? Awesome. Let's go ahead and do the second method. So everyone was able to send a request. Anyone still pending, I can wait for you. Okay. Or if you're experiencing any error, we can wait for you before moving forward. Yeah. No. Yes. Tell me something in the chat. Okay, so now it's time to update this joke. Okay. So now we are going to, so see, again, every time I need to copy paste this URL, right? Every single time, right? So this is like, like a repetitive task. So what I can do is I can make it like a variable and I can use it, like a very simple variable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a very simple variable called as base URL, and then I'll put this. So, you can select this basically. So I'm going to select this, and then, once you hover over it, it will show you add a variable like kind of an option. So here you can see set as a variable. So I'll click on set as variable. I'll click on set as a new variable. I'll name it as a base underscore a URL. I'll select the scope as a global scope right now because, I don't want to, kind of create an environment and stuff. So I'll select global scope and I'll set the variable. Now what happens now, every time I need to use that, I can use base URL as my variable. Let's see an example. So now I need to update the joke. So again, the same method, click on three dots, click on add request, rename the request to update a joke. Okay. What is the method going to be? Come on, folks. I want to know the method for updating the joke. What is the method going to be? Yes. Come on, folks, tell me. It's very easy. Put method, right? So let's go to the drop down and let's select put method. Okay. Now for the base URL, I don't need to copy the base URL. Why? Because I have the variable, right? So I can directly use base underscore. You can see base underscore URL. So I have the variable, so I don't need to copy paste that, right? And you can say it is set. So I don't need to kind of worry about it. And then / Joe. Okay. Oops. Dismiss. Okay. Now what next? What next? Do I need a body in post request? Sorry, input request. Can someone tell me, do I need a body input request? Yeah. Do you think I need a body input request? Yes, right? Yes, exactly. We need a body. So because we need to update the joke, right? So without body, it's not possible. So I'm gonna click on raw and click on JSON. So I need a body. What is the structure of this body? I'm gonna refer to the documentation. Okay. So let's go to the documentation. Let's go to the put request, and you can see put request to update an existing joke, base URL, and then the joke works fine. Now for put request, you need to kind of, send. So this is the example of the body. So let's copy this example of the body and paste it here. Okay. Now you need to change few things now because we are updating, right? So change the ID to whatever ID you had. Don't share your ID with anyone, okay? So whatever ID you had, so it's 101 for me. Now, obviously, I cannot change my ID, so I'll have 101. Now for the joke, change the joke, okay? So I have a very good joke. I am a full stack developer because I pull code from internet, right? So that's a good joke. Now, if you don't know any joke, you can just Google, dev jokes, okay? And you'll get so many dev jokes, right? You can just pull any dev joke which you love, okay? And then paste it there. So you can see why don't keyboard sleep? Because they have to shift. Oh, that's a good joke, right? So again, kind of put it there. Make sure it is inside this double quotes, right? Else that will create a problem, okay? So make sure it is inside the double joke and the JSON is validated. So it will be fine. Okay. So now let's hit send. So what I've done is I have updated. So I'll also, I'll just update my joke and hit a send. And now I'll receive the response as a 200. And then, you can see, sorry, I added a get request. Sorry. Okay. I get confused between switching the tabs a little bit every time. Sorry for that. Okay. Yes, this is fine. Let's hit send. Let's save this request. And you should receive 204, not 200. Okay. You should receive 204. Now let's see if all jokes are updated. Okay. So let me see the jokes if they are updated or not. Let's refresh this window. And you can see bugs or features. Okay, I code without using internet. Okay, Shivam, you are a pro coder. Okay, we will give you a pro coder award. Okay, so yeah, Chintan, I have a joke. Okay, I guess that was the same one. Anyone else who wanna add any joke there? Yeah,
Ali, hello.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we are running some short of time. Can we wind it up in a couple of minutes?
Oh yes, this is the last part. So yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Okay, let's see any other jokes. Awesome. So that was about updating joke. You can obviously keep it updating and stuff. So that's there. And the last method is delete method, but I'm not going to teach you delete method because it's very easy and you can refer to the documentation and delete your own jokes. Okay. So let's switch back to the presentation. So what did we learn? We learned about methods. How many methods did we learn about? Come on. Can you message it in the chat? Get, post, put, delete, right? 4 methods we learned about. We learned about addresses. Remember, we did not use any authorization. So that's the backdrop of this API because there's no authorization and anyone who knows your ID can actually kind of do anything with your joke, right? They can update it, they can delete it. So that's like a drawback of this API. But in real world, you will require authorization more or less in every aspect of life. Then in terms of body data, for body data, you need post and put request where you can add and use body data. Okay. So if you want to continue the learning as like continue your API journey as a student expert, then you can kind of apply to become a Postman student expert, and the URL is here. I'll share that in the chat. Just give me a moment. Okay, so I've shared it in the private chat. You folks can actually kind of share it. Okay. Okay, so that's that's the URL if you want to kind of be part of a program. And for the challenge, the last part, swags, right? So how can you win swags? 2 challenges are there. For both the swags there are different like for both the challenges there are different swags. So for one, you need to summarize your learning using hashtag Postman Student on Twitter or on LinkedIn. You can use hashtag Postman Student and share whatever you learned in this session. You can also grab an image or two from the session and post it. And for other challenge, it is a blog writing challenge. So you can write a blog. You will get a different swag for this. So you'll get a more swags for this one because it's a hard challenge. You'll get a day for writing a good blog around whatever we did, but in detail. And you can send the URLs to the organizers, and then they can select the winners and announce basically. Remember, we will take at least 30 days to ship the swag. So be patient with it. So again, repeating both the challenges. Challenge 1 is social media challenge. and the challenge 2 is blog writing challenge. Okay. Again, if you want to learn more, you can have the resources here. And if you have any questions, I'm here, for 5 minutes. So yeah. Okay, looks like we don't have much of a questions. So yeah, thank you so much for coming in. Organizers can share the feedback form so that we know how the session went. And make sure you tweet using hashtag Postman Student to be eligible for the swags. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I hope you learned something from this session. That was very, very important, right at the end of the day. I hope to kind of connect with you and see you folks, see your tweets and your blogs, and see some awesome you folks doing some awesome snacks. So thank you so much. If there's anything else, we are good. Else, I guess we are good.
Yep, yep. It was an amazing session, Ali. Thanks a lot for your sharing just a vast knowledge on API develop APIs and how to use Postman. It will really help many of us to work things up. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a good day, and yeah, bye bye.
Yeah. Bye bye. Hello, everyone.
Hey there.
So yeah, yep. So hello, amazing people who are attending this session, and we learned about APIs and all, and it went really amazing. But now we have a really cool session by one of our coder avenger, that is Thor. And let me share something about him. So he works as DevRel and DevEds at Supabase. He has worked at SAP and Google in the past, and he's one of the coolest people I've ever known. Like especially the thing that he actually has Jolnir as his symbol almost everywhere. So uh yeah, so he's going to share us about how we can build a server using Supabase. So Supabase is basically a Firebase alternative, and we'll get more insights from Thor. So yeah, thanks a lot for taking out time, and we are excited for your session. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Thor. Actually, let me bring up my screen, and then we can do some things. And while I do that, so happy Friday, depending on where you are. Maybe you can quickly pop in the chat where you are tuning in from. So I'm based out here in Singapore. So for me, it is Friday evening. So cheers to that. Well, I don't really have any beer. It's just some coffee that I have in here. But maybe you can comment a beer emoji or a coffee or tea emoji, whatever you're drinking. I hope you're hydrating. Maybe it's water. Yes. So let's. Can we get my screen on the stream, please? That'd be sweet. Awesome. There we are. There we have it. So yes, I go by Thor Web Dev. So that's generally how you can find me. You can find me on Twitter. I got my little Mjolnir hammer. That's the name, if you didn't know. Mjolnir is the name of Thor's hammer. So got that little guy here, and also got him as a little cursor. Although I think custom cursors are deprecated, so I think there will be, yeah, Arrow will trying to use something like that. I think you're not allowed to, or you're not meant to use kind of image cursors anymore because it's not really accessible. But yeah, you can find me here. So I do stuff at Supabase. You can find me on Twitter as well. Oh, sweet. Maybe if there's 100. If there's 96 folks of you, you can get me across to 3,000. But no, of course, only if you want to learn more about Supabase. Now, what is Supabase? Supabase, we say, is kind of the open source Firebase alternative. Now, it is a lot more than that, and it also is a bit different from Firebase, but the easiest way to kind of convey what we're doing is sort of saying that. So basically what we're doing is building a lot of the functionality that Firebase offers, but on an open source stack. As you might know, kind of Firebase is sort of a proprietary NoSQL database, and it's great for building applications quickly. But then, once you kind of grow, it becomes challenging if you want to move off, maybe move to kind of a more scalable stack and things like that. So, starting out in Firebase can kind of give you some headaches later on as you scale. So if we look at Supabase here as an alternative for Firebase, we can look at our architecture, and we are the full stack of Firebase is open source through and through. So at its foundation, Firebase is built on top of Postgres. Now, Postgres is an open source database that has been built for over 3 decades now, and it's very proven. And Postgres is a database that probably for 95% of the applications that you're building, may be mobile applications or web applications, likely for 95, if not 99% of those applications, Postgres will be a good choice in terms of database for you. And so Postgres is different. It's a relational database, so table based, as you potentially learn that in university. So it is a bit different from kind of the NoSQL database. And if you're not used to sort of writing SQL statements, it might be a bit intimidating. But once you kind of get into SQL a little bit, it gets really, really powerful. And also Postgres itself is so powerful in terms of like its extension ecosystem, and just also in terms of like functions and kind of authentication. So Ali mentioned that, you'll always need authentication down the road for your application. You of course need to make sure that not everyone can edit your jokes, but only the author of the joke can actually edit their own joke and kind of things like that. And that's exactly what we're giving you with Supabase Auth. So that is also an open source solution here. So the auth server is called GoTrue. It was originally developed within Netlify. If you know Netlify, pretty great Jamstack hosting provider there. And so GoTrue allows us to kind of create and sign JSON web tokens for authentication, and then we can use that to actually authenticate the user, and we can write what we call kind of Postgres policies to pre-filter the data based on sort of the authenticated user. Then we have something that is called PostgREST. So, a little bit different from Postgres, but PostgREST. And as you probably can, judge from the name, REST. So it gives you a REST API on top of your database. So this is, for example, with Postgres, you can actually just query your database, for example, with Postman. You could do that. So rather than actually needing to write SQL queries, you can now just fire off a request with Postman or with curl or whatever you want, and you can get the data that you're kind of looking for there. Then we have something called Realtime, which is a real-time server. So something that Firebase is pretty well known for as well, is kind of it's real-time database. So what we've done is we've taken Postgres and we've built a real-time server with Elixir. Elixir is pretty great language for doing real-time stuff and kind of WebSocket stuff, very scalable. And the great thing is we're basically just using kind of a database replication to then sort of fire off the changes in the database to kind of all the connected clients. So that's really sweet. And then something we're going to look at a little bit more today is the storage layer. So the Postgres database is where you store kind of your structured data. So anything in terms of like text or JSON, anything that's sort of structured. And then you have also unstructured data, so things like, you know, files, rich media, sort of file storage, images, kind of all of that. And so that is something where you use storage, but then storage again integrates with the whole stack of the database. So all the metadata about like your objects is stored in your database. And then you can use again something like authentication to make sure that only authenticated users can upload files or modify files. So same thing here again, you always will need authentication. Okay, so that's pretty much sort of a little bit of background about Supabase. Now, what you can do is when you navigate to supabase.com, you can go ahead and then you can sign into your project, or you can create an account. We just use kind of GitHub as an OAuth provider there, and then you can go off and start some free projects. So the free tier is very generous, and you can build applications that actually scale. I think there's a good example. If you follow Supabase on Twitter, there's recently a great example of someone who built an application and scaled it to 8,000 users in like 2 weeks, and it just all worked seamlessly. And so that's what you can do. And once you create your project, so I've created a project here for us called the Super Dev Script file server. So pretty much in the name, and basically what we want to try to do over the next 20 to 30 minutes is kind of build something like Dropbox or Google Drive, just sort of with Supabase and Next.js. And so once we've created our project, we can see things here. So we have database, we have authentication, we have storage. So for database, we can actually jump in, and if we wanted to create a new table, we can actually do all that kind of via this editor here. So similar to kind of something you might be used to. So just kind of clicking that together to get your table started. If you don't want to start out with SQL in the beginning, of course, if you know your SQL pretty well, then you can just go ahead into the SQL editor here. And there is a bunch of snippets as well that are like really useful. You can also go to database.dev, which is a great resource, which is community maintained with like tons of really useful SQL snippets that can help you out. So the great thing with working with Supabase is also that you basically, as you build your application, you can learn SQL, and knowing SQL is so useful. If you go anywhere, kind of any company, and you get access to the data, and generally you have some SQL interface for it, and kind of how to extract and aggregate data, it will be super useful. So if you kind of do that step and invest a little bit and learn a little bit, that makes a lot of sense for you, kind of in anything you do later down the road. Okay, so for example, here we can create a table, and then we'll get a little SQL snippet. Maybe let me zoom in a little bit. I hope you can see that. And then you can just kind of write your SQL there. So something that's also really cool about Postgres is you can have a JSON-B data type. So that's just kind of JSON that you can drop into the database if you have kind of a large blob of metadata that you don't really want to structure. You can just create a column with JSON-B and be done with it. So that's something you can do. Okay, sweet. So now maybe let me go here. So we have kind of this, we're going to fly through this a little bit in the session, but we're kind of going to skip some things as well. But if you want to like take your time and really follow through with this application, maybe let's see if we can post the link in the chat. And you can kind of bookmark that and maybe come back to it later, or over the weekend if you have time, you can do that. So we've created our Supabase project. So I've done that. I've gone ahead and kind of done that before here. So we got our project now. That's good. And then create a Next.js project. So what I'm using is just a service called REPL is here. And I've created from the template just kind of a little Supabase project, a little Next.js project to use with with Supabase. So you can actually here in the packages. So in order to use Supabase within your application, you would need to install something that's called Supabase JS. So that's the JavaScript client to interact with Supabase. And so you can type that into the packages here, and you can see I've already pre-installed this to make sure we're kind of saving some time here. And you can drop that in, and then you have that available. And so what I'm doing is just kind of in this little util function here, I'm creating my client. Normally you would put all this into environment variables, but here, so these are public keys. Yeah, let's see, can we get the Notion link maybe posted from the private chat? So I put it in the private chat because I can't actually post to the YouTube comments directly. So I'll need someone from the DevScript team to help me out and forward that. Hopefully they can do that. And then, so here, create client. So you can see when you go into your Supabase project and you go to kind of your API settings here. So as I mentioned, we're using a great project called Postgres that automatically spins up an API for you. And so as you kind of see this API, you can sort of create your client here. We currently don't have any table for it, but so maybe let's actually quickly create a new table. And maybe just say we have an ID and a created at timespan. We just call this kind of test table. We're just testing here. So let's save that. We're adding 2 columns to test. Okay, now we actually have a table. And so when we go into our API, we can see that we now automatically generate documentation for your tables. And you can actually see, you can switch here between JavaScript and Bash. So Bash is just kind of curl commands that you can do. And so you can see here to like get data, if you want to kind of read rows from your data, you can basically just fire off curl requests, or you could do this with Postman as well. And so this is here how you would do this in Supabase JS with JavaScript. You just say Supabase from my test table, select a specific column, and then you get your data. So this really makes getting data really, really easy from the client side. So you can do that. But today, what we want to do is actually work with Supabase storage. And so storage allows you to store and then serve files. So that might be image files, or it might be audio files or video files that you want to stream onto your website and kind of things like that. And so if we go over here, the first thing that we want to do is actually we want to create a bucket. So we're just going to call this bucket my bucket. So that's just going to be my bucket there. And then we say we create a new bucket. We call it my bucket. And then we're just going to say we want to make this bucket public. So what this means is that anyone who basically has the direct link, so we can generate kind of a direct link to files in our bucket, then anyone can actually see those links and consume them. So they can read the objects, but so without being logged in, they can read the objects. But we then still need to define RLS. So RLS stands for row level security. So that's a concept within Postgres for authentication. You need to define some policies to do operations like uploads and deletes and kind of things like that. Okay, so let's create our bucket. And then within our bucket, we can create a folder. Maybe let's just say we'll create a folder called public, and we'll drop some images in there. And so via the Supabase dashboard, we can do that. So we could drop in some images here, or we can actually just click upload file. And I actually have some nice files that I've prepared from the Full Stack Squared website. So that's pretty nice. So we have this image here. Maybe we upload another one. This one was, I think, also pretty cool image. Whoever's done the the illustrations. Ooh, this is a pretty big one. 5.1 megabytes. All right, that's a meaty one. Drop that in there. But yeah, that looks pretty amazing, right? Has anyone made an NFT out of that? Maybe that would be a good session as well. Okay, and then maybe we have another, maybe this one overlap. That looks a little bit like Squid Game here. Cool. Okay, so now we have some images in our bucket. And what we can do now is we can actually go and into the next section, and we're gonna jump around in here a little bit, and specifically we are going to create a page to list kind of all our files that we can download. And then we just do kind of a link off to kind of a page where we can then actually sort of download the file. Okay, so let's go ahead. So we can actually look at the solution here. Maybe we could, of course, jump into the Supabase docs. So we can go docs and then reference. So that's also where we find kind of a lot of, docs, reference, JavaScript. We can look into storage here. And so for example, what we want, we already know our bucket. So what we actually want to do is we want to list all the files that are within a specific bucket. And so here I prepared a page for us in the pages folder. I created a page called download. So if we go to /downloads within our Next.js application, we see this here. So we see here all files. And then one thing that's pretty useful that I like to do as I'm like developing things is just using the pre tag. So pre allows you to sort of render kind of code style things, and then you can just drop like a JSON stringify in there. You can pass any kind of JSON structure or object, and then this will be stringified. You then pass null, and then 2 basically means that the indentation that you want for your JSON to make it like really, really readable. So that is nice. And then what we can do here is, if you're familiar with React, so basically once your page is rendered, we'll get into the useEffect hook. And then in this hook here, we have our async function called getFiles. So in here, we would do exactly this here from the docs. So we would want to get our response, and our response, and then we just print out the response on the page. So we can say await Supabase storage from our bucket, and then we want to list kind of all the things that are within the public folder, for example. Okay, so maybe if you go back here, you can see this as well. So we're going to do Supabase storage from our bucket, my bucket, and then we want to list all the files that are in the public folder. So let's just do this. Const response equals await. So because Supabase is making a request here, so it will return a promise, and then we get Supabase. So that's our Supabase client that we created before in the utils file. And then we just say Supabase, and we have now our storage namespace there. Then we say from my bucket, we want to list all the files that are in the public folder. Okay, now let's give that a little save. And what we can see now is we go into the downloads here. We don't actually get anything back, right? And so we can actually open this page in a new tab as well. So Repl.it allows us to do that. And we can actually kind of see what is happening. So as we go to downloads, we see here, it did make a network request to kind of get all the things from our bucket. But somehow, if we look at the response payload, it is empty. And now the reason for that is that you will need to specify policies for kind of that data access. And so this is kind of the authentication piece that I mentioned earlier. So here within our buckets, our storage buckets, we can go to policies, and then we can see here there's no policies created for our bucket yet. So we can create a policy. We can use a policy template here. So Postgres policies can be a little bit intimidating, but you get some good examples here. And so what we can do is now, okay, so here, for example, we allow public access to JPEG images in kind of a public folder. So that might be a good one. Now, the only thing is, if we look back into our images, I think they were PNG images. So we need to kind of update this. And so here we want to specify, okay, this operation should be available for select. So basically, when we want to get an object or we want to list an object, and then we can say for my bucket with my bucket ID, and then we can look at kind of the extension name. So instead of JPEG, we're going to say PNG here, and then we're going to make sure that our folder name is public, and then we can say that the authentication role is anonymous, which just kind of means they don't have to be authenticated, so they can be anonymous. Let's review this whole policy here, and then save that policy. So now we have that policy saved. We should have renamed it to JPEG images. But now if we go back to our server and reload here, we can, oh, sorry, it's a bit slow. We can see we have a response, and we now have all our images here in the response. Now, what we haven't done is actually set our response to the file. So this is being rendered here. So in React, what we need to do is we need to actually, once we've gotten our response, we then can say set files, and then we can see that we set the response to that. And so now you can see as our files are being loaded, we get here our whole response back with the images. We get some metadata, we get the name of the image. So basically, we're not actually getting the file here, but what we're getting is all the metadata for the images. And we can actually jump back into our project here, and we can see when we go into the table editor, we can switch our schema to storage, and we can see that we actually have all the information. So all the metadata describing our files and all of that is just in Postgres. So we can access all the metadata for our things here. We can see kind of all the objects. So you can see here the bucket ID for my images. We get the name of the images and kind of all of that. Where you see that the owner ID is null. So this is because when the image was uploaded, the user wasn't authenticated. So if we later on upload a file with the website, for example, then and the user is authenticated, we will get the owner ID in there, and this will be really useful then to check that, for example, only the owner of the file can actually update it, right? And so maybe let's see how far we can get here. So in the next step, we can actually look at the authentication piece. So Ali mentioned that before as well. Authentication, you always need authentication, and it actually is a bit of a challenging thing to do. But what's really nice is with another open source project called Supabase UI. So we can look at this here. Maybe actually, if we go to the Supabase, I think if we just go Supabase UI, we can actually ui.supabase.io. Maybe we don't need to put that in the chat, but you can find that. And you can see there is like a bunch of useful. So this is built with like Tailwind. It's kind of a design system that we use to like build our dashboard. And of course, that's also open source. So you can see things like nice kind of radio buttons. There's theming in there, typography, icons. But also we've built this really nice widget, which is kind of this authentication widget where you can do like sign up users and login users, and you can do kind of all the OAuth with like GitHub and Google as well, and kind of all that stuff. And so we can actually do this. Maybe we go to our login page. So I created a page. Let me see. I created a page here called login. So if we go back to our server and instead of downloads, we go to login, we probably just see, yes, our hello world here. I'm actually not sure how I can navigate to login in there. I might have to do like a link or something. But for now, well, maybe actually we just do it on the index page, and then we can all see it. Yes, let's do that. And so we can Superbase UI, again, the same here with the packages. You go and find the add Superbase/UI, and then you can import kind of the auth component here. And we can look into the Superbase UI. So in order to get kind of this nice auth component, we can then here just do auth, and we will need to pass in our Superbase client. So we can get our Superbase client. So we'll import Superbase from, we have our util function. So we'll import that from, I think we are in the pages, so we have to step back a little bit. So we have to step back. This is a little annoying pages. Step back once, and then we go utils, and then within utils we have Superbase. Okay, Superbase. So we get that here. That should now hopefully stop complaining. Yep, there we are. And then maybe instead of doing that, we'll just do our auth with our Superbase client. And now if this page refreshes, it takes a little while. Does it not refresh? Oh, there we are. Now we have this really nice widget here. It does have the email address login. You can do, if you forgot your password, you can do that, all that jazz. Go back to sign in. You don't have an account yet, you can sign up. And so what you can do is, let's go in here so we can look at the network tabs again. Sign up. So for sign up, by default, you have to do email confirmation for the sign up to make sure, you know, that the person that wanted to sign up actually did sign up. But what we can do is in test mode, we can disable email confirmation. And that means we can test kind of a little more easily, and we don't always need to do the authentication bit. And so what we can do here now is we can go back, and now we can say we want to sign up. So let's say tester at test, and then we'll just put in our password. Did I put that in correctly? And so now sign up, we can see sign up here. And so basically once we signed up, we already get kind of a user object back. And then we can get the user object kind of throughout, and we're authenticated to sign up. So now we'll just need to make sure that we're kind of saving the state of the authenticated user. And we'll also, we have some helpers for that there. So maybe we look at, let me see, we go back to our pages, go back to our index page. So here we are. And we, in order to kind of get the auth user context, So we can actually go and have a look at a create example Supabase / examples / Next.js. Let's see, Next.js with Supabase auth. This is the one. That's a pretty long link, so maybe let me put that in the chat and then you can forward that there. Yeah, and we can see here that in our pages, so we need to do something here, which is called the auth user context provider. And this is really, really nice because that allows us to track kind of our auth user through the whole application. So once they are logged in, we can then on any page we are on, we can check if the user is authenticated and do kind of operations with that. And so we'll just do, sorry, we'll need to return the whole thing here. So we just wrap our base application, and then also we'll need to import again Supabase. I think we can just copy it from our index page. So we're on the app page, so we wrap that here, our context provider. And so now what we can, hopefully that works now. Yeah, auth is not defined, so we'll also need to import our auth from Supabase UI. So import in the app. Let's do that. Here we are. And then we can see kind of in sort of our pages later on, what we can do is we can also import kind of our auth, and then we can get a user hook, it's called, to get the user and the session information printed out. So basically, let's just do that. And we do this on the index page. So we're saying here we can use our hook. So user session equals auth.use user. And then maybe what we can do is we'll just print. Maybe we just put a pre in here again, and we'll just print out our whole user object. So we can do, again, this is a neat little trick to kind of get all the things out on the page. And let's just do null 2. And so now maybe let's just do the user and the session. And so you can see here that it is null because we didn't actually log in here. But if we go back here, you already see it. We go back to our page. And now we can see we have the whole user object here. So that's our authenticated user ID. We see that they are in fact authenticated, and we have all the information about the session. And so we don't actually need to keep track of this because Supabase.js under the hood keeps track of all of this for us. So now we can just go ahead and we could upload a file and then be done with that. So I just need to check. I think I'm running up against time. So let's just go back, and from this point on, you could let's have a look here. Yeah, maybe can you give me a heads up in the private chat, kind of how much time we have left, and if people are still around, or is everyone running off for happy hour? Who knows? Here, where do we have it? Upload a file. Okay, so we have a little bit of time, so we can do something here to do an HTML input element with type file. And so what we can do is actually just say Okay, are we all good? So we can check here that we have the user, and basically what we can do now is we can say if we have a user, then we say so maybe let's just copy all of this here, and then I can put it in and explain it. So what we can say is the auth with the Supabase client. Yeah, let me just double check what we have. So what we can do is basically we can say if we don't have a user, 1 second. So we can say here, if there is no user, so you know the exclamation point, then we want to actually return this bit here. So we want to return the auth piece. So if we don't have a user, then we want to show them the login element. So this one. But if we do have a user, and maybe we just to be sure, and otherwise, what we do is we return our HTML input upload field. So this is this one here, our file upload input, and we can just say return this one, and we do need our handle upload function, so we can just copy that over as well. So here what this does is just it gets the so from the file, which is here, the target.file, so from our event, when we input our file, when we select our file, and then once we have the file, we just say Supabase storage to my bucket, so my bucket that we created, and then we want to upload the file into public with the file name of the file. Okay, so let's copy that, move that over here, and now we have our handle upload function that we have specified here. So when we have a file selected, so now let's just have a look and make sure that we go to storage, go to my bucket. Maybe we just delete, let's see, or maybe I can just rename the file. Let's see, I can just downloads, and then let me just rename this file to uploaded via HTML. And now we go back to our, and so here you can see, because the user is logged in, so in this tab here, the user is not logged in because they haven't logged in. We can actually do this now because we have our user signed up. So we can actually just say we want to log in here. So that was tester@test.de. I always use DE because I'm originally from Germany, so that sort of stuck around. And so now you can see we logged in, so we don't get the auth field anymore. And now we can say choose a file. I'm just going to do this over here so that we can actually watch kind of what's happening in the network tab. So let's choose a file, and we're just going to do the uploaded via HTML. And so on input, you can see now we get an error message, and we say the new row violates row level security policy for table objects. And so this is actually great because we haven't allowed anyone to upload anything just yet. So what we can do is we can look back here, and there is actually a section on authentication and here row level security. So what we actually need to do is we need to write a policy for insert. So when we're uploading files, and we need to make sure that we have the insert, the role is authenticated. So we can look at that. We go to our bucket, we add a new policy. We can get that from the policy template, and we can give users access to a folder only to authenticated users. So that is roughly what we want. And then maybe let's say use this template. So for insert, we want to say my bucket, and then we'll just do, so this could be now another folder if you could have, but here in our case, our folder is called public. So because it's a public read, but it is not a private write, so it's a private write, but for the public folder. And so only if our auth role is authenticated. So let's review this. And we know that we are authenticated because we are logged in here. So let's give this a quick reload. And okay, 1 second. And now we choose the file uploaded via HTML. And now we can see that we're not getting an error, but in fact, we're getting a key back. And the key is actually the complete path of our file in our Supabase storage. And so now we can go back. We had built our download route, and we can now see that once this page renders. So first of all, let's see. Okay, we're not getting any. Maybe I've accidentally updated the policy. But so if we look into my bucket here and we public bucket, reload this. Sorry, it seems like the internet is Fridays also taking a little bit of a break here. Okay, public bucket. And you can see now we have our uploaded. Oh, also, I think the reason might be because it was this pretty big image. But so we can see that the upload actually worked. And so now what we can see as well is if we go back to our metadata, we go to our objects, we can now see that for this one that we uploaded, we actually have an owner UUID, and this is because the authenticated user was logged in. We actually get the ID of, and we can see this here. We can actually click on this, and we can see we can load the data of kind of our authenticated user, and we can see it is this one here. And we can also compare this. So this is the ID. If we go to authentication, we can see this is our user here, and this is the owner ID. So that is exactly what we're using these IDs to make sure that only authenticated people can, access their own data. So you can write policies for that. So, for example, if we go into the policies of the storage bucket, we could create another policy, and we could say that to only their own folders. So we could kind of check based on the auth UUID, the user ID. We could check that is correct, and then we could also apply this just on update and delete, and then we can basically make sure that only the owners of the actual files will be able to update and delete those files. Okay, and so practically within less than an hour, 45 minutes, we've built kind of our private file server. We basically built Dropbox, Google Drive, as one developer with a little bit of Next.js and Supabase. And that really is the power of Supabase. And yeah, with that, I'm going to go off actually in this building the the air condition has already taken off for the weekend, and so I'm starting to sweat buckets. And yes, but thanks so much for having me. Do check out Superbase on Twitter as well. So most of our marketing strategy on Twitter is actually around memes. So maybe just go in and follow for the memes if that's what you want to do. But also we're doing live streaming some stuff. For example, this morning, pretty nice, we did a live stream with the folks over at Replit. And this is actually a series where we're building kind of a real-time multiplayer browser game. So that's going to be good fun. So yeah, if that's interesting to you, do follow us on Twitter. And yeah, thanks again for having me, and have a great rest of Friday and a weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Thor, for this amazing session. Like I'm from an ML background. I never thought backend at all is so easy to implement. So even that gave me a thought. Maybe should I move to a full stack as well? Just to discover, because things seemed very interesting and easy when you explained it. And yeah, so thanks a lot for your time. It was amazing, and I'm sure the folks loved it. Even Lokesh said, can I know his name? He's a super cool guy and all. So yep, people are loving you and the session. So thank you guys. Don't leave the session. We have a quiz, and yes, you have a chance to win Superbase Swags. So just stay tuned. I'll be dropping the link in a moment.
Sweet. And
So-
if you win some swag, do tweet at us with a picture of your swag. We love to see it.
Yeah, and don't forget to tag all of us. And so the quiz will be live for around 15 minutes, and we hope you resolve as many questions as possible. If you have any question, this is the right time to ask. And yep. So Thor, like I had a question, like just wondering, what do you do in your leisure time normally?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Singapore is a nice place actually for, because it does rain, especially at the beginning of the year, but it's generally always warm, and so we do like to do like a lot of sort of water sports activities. You can do like sailing, stand-up paddling. Sometimes there's a good amount of wind in Singapore. But then also I do like dragon boating on the weekend, so you can do that on the Marina Bay. It's actually quite nice, yeah. With a bunch of folks, and luckily it looks like COVID is slowly, let's hopefully say, disappearing, and we can get back to full boats and everyone paddling. It's good fun.
Yep. Sounds really fun to me. Yeah. And Lokesh here has asked a question. I'm not sure if I'm able to understand it. Do we have Chrome extensions available for Superbase iOS?
For Superbase, yeah, maybe you can expand on that question a little bit. We don't have any extensions specifically. Maybe it's a question if you want to build Chrome extensions, then you can definitely use Superbase as well, because Superbase is actually great for building Chrome extensions, because you can call your Superbase backend from client-side code. So you don't actually potentially need a server for your Chrome extension. It's kind of the same, for mobile applications. Oftentimes you don't actually want to maintain a server for your mobile application. So using something like Superbase that gives you kind of an automated API on top of your data could be a great choice there. Not sure if that was the question. Maybe in terms of the dashboard, yeah, so the Superbase dashboard is just a web application. It actually is just the next application as well. And you can actually, it's open source as well. So you can actually go and just kind of rip that out and put on top of your Postgres database if you wanted to. You could host everything yourself. Yeah, so for self-hosting, you could do that. And it is in fact on GitHub, Supabase, and then just Studio. Where is it? Studio. Yeah. Oh, there. That's already it. So just Supabase / Supabase. Cool.
Yeah. So I guess his doubt is cleared. So if anyone has any more questions, please ask, or else assume that there aren't any more questions. Don't forget to start the repository, guys. Yeah. It's cool. Yep. Okay. So I guess that's it, Thor. And sorry for making you wait in the beginning. It was amazing having you.
No.
Yep.
No worries.
We hope to
Thanks
see
for
you
having
again.
me. Have a great weekend.
Yep. It's our pleasure. Yep. Bye-bye.